Bette Davis wasn't only dramatic on screen, she led a much more dramatic life. Known for her fierce independence, sharp tongue, and intense presence, the 3 times divorced and widowed Bette had a hell of a ride. From broken marriages to relationship scandals, Bette's relationships made it to the news more than her bubbly career ever did. This is the scandalous story of Bette Davis's love life. Born Ruth Elizabeth Davis in 1908, Bette was just 7 years old when her father divorced her mother. Perhaps her childhood experience made her crave marriage and comfort from the warmth of men. Still, as much as Elizabeth wanted to be married, marriage seemed like a daunting task for her as she married 4 different times and got divorced 3 times. Was Bette Davis a lover girl in an unkind world, or did she just never heal from her hurtful childhood? Well, after her parents split, Bette was sent to boarding school where she met her first husband, Harmon Oscar Nelson. The lovebirds dated all through high school till 1932 when they got married. At this time, Bette was 24 and Oscar was 25. At that time, Bette was famous and wealthier. Oscar was earning $100 a week, whilst Bette earned 10 times more. Like many men with a fragile ego, Oscar felt less of a man. He claimed Bette was too focused on her work and read too many scripts. However, Bette did everything to make her marriage work. She went as far as having 2 abortions just to appease her husband. But men cannot be trusted, can they? As if that was not all, he accused her of cheating on him with Howard Hughes. However, he wasn't so wrong. For a woman who liked the idea of marriage, Bette Davis was very busy outside her marriage. In the summer of 1938, Bette shared a nice summer with film producer Howard in Malibu, although the vacation didn't last long as they were caught together by Oscar. But before him was Franchot Tone, the man who made Bette mix business with pleasure. When 27-year-old Bette met Franchot Tone, she was in her 3rd year of marriage to Harmon. At this time, her marriage with Harmon was lacking affection, so it was very easy for Bette to be head over heels for handsome Franchot. She was in love with him, and she wasn't afraid to show it. During the later years, she said, "I fell in love with Franchot professionally and privately. Everything about him reflected his elegance, from his name to his manners." However, Bette wasn't the only one who found Franchot insanely attractive. Joan Crawford wanted him, and she was determined to get him. Bette hated Joan's guts. She had even once accused her of using sex to advance her career. Maybe Joan wielded her body because, according to rumors, she once entertained Franchot in her home naked. Bette finally admitted that Franchot was in love with Joan, and she was jealous. Later on, Franchot married Joan Crawford, and Bette would never forgive Joan for taking her Prince Charming away from her. Imagine being so openly in love with another man while still in her marriage. Well, that was the kind of woman Bette was. A husband shouldn't stop a woman from meeting the love of her life. That was probably Bette's motivation during the set of Jezebel in 1938 when she fell in love with the love of her life, movie director William Wyler. In fact, during the movie, Bette said she had perfect happiness when she was with him. However, they argued, and instead of apologizing, he sent a letter proposing marriage to her. According to sources, he told her she had just 1 week to respond or the relationship was over. But Bette Davis didn't open the letter. Instead, she opened something else. What did Bette do again? Many would wonder. Of course, she opened a new chapter of her life and had an affair with her co-star Henry Fonda. Oh, Bette. Being with Fonda was easy. She had always had a crush on him. Like a blink, the relationship was short, but who knows how long it could have gone if Fonda's pregnant wife had not told her husband to cut off the affair. By the time Bette finally opened the proposal letter the love of her life had sent her, it was too late. William Wyler was married. Later on, when she spoke about William, she said, He was everything I ever dreamed of in a man. So love and passion soon followed. All this while, Beatty was still with Howard, whether they had other issues or not. He had enough reason, so 6 years after their marriage, he served Beatty divorce papers. A year later, Beatty met her second husband, Arthur Farnsworth. Arthur was a divorced man whom she met at an inn in New Hampshire. They didn't marry till December 1940. Maybe because Arthur had experience, he treated her better than her previous husband. They went to parties together, and finally, Beatty was happy. But that happiness was soon cut short. If death wasn't so fond of snatching away your favorite humans, then maybe she and Arthur might have lasted a very long time. Unfortunately, 3 years into their marriage, Arthur fell down the stairs 2 months ago in their newly acquired home and sustained an unnoticed hemorrhage. That hemorrhage caused random dizziness that later led to him falling again and fracturing his skull. He lay on the floor unconscious for a while before he was later found dead. Bette was distraught and heartbroken. They never had children. However, rumors had it that Bette had pushed him down the stairs. 2 years after the death of Arthur, Bette met the father of her daughter, William Grant Sherry. William was attracted to William because he didn't know she was an actress. He was never intimidated by her success, and that made their love blossom. In 1947, they got married. 2 years after their union, Bette had the greatest gift in her life, her daughter, Barbara Davis Sherry. Motherhood was so demanding, but so was her career. She had to choose one, and unfortunately, she chose her career. Because of this, her relationship with her daughter suffered a blow. One would think that if her relationship with her daughter wasn't beautiful, she'd at least have one with her husband. But alas, William was a womanizer and a woman beater. In 1950, after several abuses from her husband and back-and-forth fights for the custody of their daughter, Bette divorced William. Bette said, "He was a very childish type of human being, but out of our marriage came this marvelous daughter who has been the greatest fun of my life." On July 28, 1950, just 25 days after her divorce from her ex-husband was finalized, Bette Davis married again. That met her fourth and last husband, actor Gary Merrill, on the set of All About Eve, where he acted as her lover. The act was so good that making it a real experience made a lot of sense to them. Bette was finally happy. She had a husband and a daughter. To further expand her family, she went ahead and adopted 2 more kids, Michael and Margot. But when Bette's daughter Margot got ill due to brain damage that had occurred at birth, she delved into work again. Her work was her biggest comfort and the only thing that kept her going. Once again, Bette's marriage suffered terribly. This time, it was because Gary was an alcoholic. He drank so much that he beat and abused Bette. In 1960, a decade after they said their vows, Bette divorced her fourth husband. She said, "Gary was a macho man, but none of my husbands were ever man enough to become Mr. Bette Davis." If anyone thought that these marriages were the only scandal around Bette's life, then they were wrong. Bette had several affairs, even though they never led to marital bliss. One of them was with her co-star, George Brent. Bette and George had acted together in 11 films. Maybe seeing him now and then made her develop a crush on him. Bette liked him so much that she didn't hesitate to say his name whenever she was asked who her favorite co-star was. That crush later yielded a relationship in 1939 during the set of Dark Victory. It was an on and off relationship that lasted till 1940. Perhaps their relationship could have lasted longer if he had left his wife for Bette, but Davis had never been a lucky woman. Bette also had an affair with Humphrey Bogart, her co-star in Dark Victory, Glenn Ford, whom she shared the screen with in A Stolen Life, and Robert S. Taplinger, whom she dated for 1 month in 1940 when she was preparing to film The Letter. One married man wasn't enough, Betty must have thought, as she was rumored to have dated Anatole Litvak in 1939. Litvak was married to co-star Miriam Hopkins. It was reported that Miriam confronted Betty, leading to the end of the affair. These affairs didn't bother Betty. She had even once said, "An affair now and then is good for a marriage. It adds spice and stops it from getting boring. I ought to know." Jaw-dropping. But after 3 divorces and a dead husband, Bette was broken and tired of trying. She gave up trying to have a family and even called love a big joke. But before she passed away in 1989 due to breast cancer, loneliness stabbed her like a knife, and she reminisced over the mistakes of her youth. Truly, all Bette wanted was a home. In her own words, she said, "I always wanted to be married. I wanted a home, but I haven't had a real one since I was 7 years old. Indeed, I never should have married, but I didn't want to live without a man. Life's a spooky thing. All my marriages, except one, were farces. I am not happy in this single state. Woman and man were meant to be together. My children are grown, and here I am, living alone without the man I always wanted. I knew I'd end up this way one day, a lonely old woman on a hill." Which part of Bette Davis's story stands out the most for you? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more updates. While you're still here, click the video on your screen for more celebrity videos.